Hey, I just want to say hi to all of our Victory family out there, the pastors and their spouses, and all of the people in our congregations. I hope you enjoy the message today. I'm going to be talking about turning your online audience into an in-house congregation. You know, over the last few months, we've seen some things happen that some people have called unprecedented, unusual. There's just been all kinds of things happen. And so today I want to talk to you about that crowd that you're reaching in an online situation. Is there a possibility of turning that into your in-house congregation? So I pulled a scripture today, one of my favorite ones, but if you want to turn to it, it's in 2 Corinthians 10 and verses 12 through 18, probably I'm going to read. It just says, "For we dare not class ourselves or compare ourselves with those who commend themselves, but they measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves are not wise. We, however, will not boast beyond measure, but within the limits of the sphere of which God appointed us, a sphere which especially includes you. For we are not overextending ourselves as though our authority did not extend to you, for it was to you that we came with the gospel of Christ, not boasting of things beyond measure, that is, in another man's labors, but having hope that as your faith is increased, we shall be greatly enlarged by you and our sphere, to preach the gospel in the regions beyond you, and not to boast in another man's sphere of accomplishment." So today I want to talk about that. You know, the events of the last few months have given us an unprecedented opportunity. And that opportunity really is to reach thousands of people through our online audiences and through our online platforms. But you know, the church has become kind of hardwired to think a certain way. In the church, especially in North America, we've become a little bit building centric, where everything operates out of the church, where our Sunday morning service is a certain way for a certain crowd of people to do a specific thing. It houses our biblical teaching. It houses our worship. It houses the extension of all of our programming. And everybody is so accustomed to coming to the building. And I'm not saying it's not good to come to the building. In fact, quite the opposite. I think coming to the building is important. It gives us that central base of operation that we can expand from. But what I'm saying is that we have been in a position where we were so focused on that centric place of worship that when we got thrown a curveball, oftentimes it was a bit of a scramble to get on track and do what we needed to do. And so in many cases, the church has been effective, but maybe not as effective as it could be. And of course, the downside to being building centric is that there's this whole crowd of people out there that we would normally have trouble reaching or not ever be able to reach at all, being just stuck in our building behind our four walls. And when they shut the doors, what has happened now is that we have had to go out beyond that and do something unique and something creative. And in this time, we really had two choices. You can just shut the whole thing down, wait till it blows over and hope that your congregation comes back, or you can take advantage of the online platforms. You can become creative. You can use the technical ability that many of the people in our churches have. You can use what has already been built by someone else to reach out and literally touch thousands of people. And even in the smallest of environments, we can seem bigger than we really are. And this is a way of expanding our sphere. It's expanding our sphere of influence that we can have. And so churches, for instance, that I have been talking to and pastors that I've been talking to, they are reaching over 1,000 people on a Sunday. Now, some of those people are clicking in and out in a hurry. Some of them are 3 seconds. Some of them are a few minutes. Some of them are 15 minutes. Some of them are staying to hear the entire program. The point is that is 1,000 people that they would not normally be reaching. But what do we do about that? You know, according to the Apostle Paul, we're supposed to be enlarging and increasing our sphere of influence. This is the principle of the church, so we don't want to stay just the same. It's okay to have a building, but we don't want to become and stay building centric to where everything operates and functions that way. And so we have this opportunity right now to do something. And so what do we do when the doors open again? What do we do when we can open up our doors and that is beginning to transpire? Even as I preach this message today, the doors are opening here in British Columbia. They are opening, and we are able to have larger crowds. Probably, hopefully within the next few weeks, we will be able to have even larger crowds. But right now we have a certain size. So we're focusing on what do we do? And so we have a choice at this point in time. Do we go back to just being building centric and have our congregation coming back in? Or do we stay online and do our in-house as well? And can we draw some of that in-house crowd into the church? Now, there's no way in the time that I have today that we can actually give to you all of the tools that you need to be able to take your online audience and turn it into an in-house congregation. But I want to point out some things today that I hope will become very effective for you, just even in your planning and in your preparation. And of course, there's things online that you can go and look at. There's books being written. There's small books, newsletters being written on how to do this. But I've taken a look at some of those things, and what I want to do is I just want to pull out some of the key things that I think, and actually thought right from the very beginning, that would be important to help you to be able to turn that online audience into an in-house congregation. The first place I started was I wanted to eliminate two things from my vocabulary, to be honest, and two things from the vocabulary of the people around me. And of course, one of them was unprecedented times. We've been told that we are living in unprecedented times, when the reality is that times like this have happened before. What has been unprecedented is the government's and people's response to what's happening. There's been pandemics and epidemics throughout history of mankind. And so I just thought, you know what, if I'm going to have the right mindset to be able to approach this, I need to stop thinking that this is unprecedented, because that, in my mind, creates an even bigger challenge than it needs to create. The second thing is that I wanted to eliminate was the new normal. The new normal. Everybody keeps talking about the new normal. And if you say we want to get things back to normal, everybody says, well, there's no way that the normal is going to be the same. There's a new normal. And nobody knows what that is. And I would say that normal is a moving target anyway. That normal today should never be the same as normal is tomorrow. We should be looking and being challenged all the time to be able to reach out and do things that are creative and different. And so I find that we are just always in a state of transition. We're in a state of transition physically. We're in a state of transition philosophically. We're in a state of transition spiritually. And all of these things combine to change our normal virtually on a daily basis, and certainly on a weekly basis. And you will know, if you're ministering to people, that sometimes you're going to be doing things different next week than you did this week. So your normal changed. So I just decided to eliminate that from my vocabulary. So I'm not going to use unprecedented, and I'm not going to use the new normal. I'm going to approach it like we have an opportunity before us that we have never had before, that there is something being presented to us, and it's a way for all of our churches to be able to step up and do something they've never done and create an audience that they've never had, and hopefully bring some of those people in and fill their churches. And I've even had people say to me that there might not even be a church when this is over. And I would say that that is silly talk, because the church has survived worse things than what we're facing right now. And the church has survived, and the church will survive until the time that Jesus returns and takes us out of here. And so let's get those thoughts out of our head right away. And so moving forward, we have to have an objective mindset. We have to be able to look forward and say, what am I going to be doing next week? What am I going to be doing the week after? What am I going to be doing next month? And instead of looking and saying, well, nothing's going to be normal, well, some things will be normal. Your worship team will be the same, hopefully. Your preaching style maybe should change a little bit and be altered just because you've had to adjust it for being online. But at the end of the day, we need to be creative about moving forward, and we need to touch the lives of people in a different way. And so it's unfortunate, but many churches will not have the resources in people or finances or even equipment to reach that crowd to the magnitude that they would like. And so we have to be ready to accept that. We do what we can do with what we've got. And what we have right now is an opportunity to reach out and touch the lives of people in a powerful way, and hopefully bring some of those people into our congregation. And so with this in mind, I would say that, as the Apostle Paul said, we shouldn't compare ourselves to others. Don't compare yourselves to those who compare themselves among themselves. Everybody's trying to get into the comparison game, when the reality is that my church can't be compared to other churches and your church can't be compared to other churches. So what I want to focus on is what can we do with what God has given us, and how can we draw people into our midst that we wouldn't be able to reach any other way. And so we need to focus on a possible group that we can captivate and bring in. And so what we have to understand is that what we are able to provide online in the way of shots and retakes, we can't do that once we have the services back as live services once again. We can't shoot and reshoot and get it exactly right. We have to be able to just do the best we can with what we have, and we need to take some time to think about it, and we need to take some time to do it deliberately and get that audience that has been watching us online. When they come in, they're going to know that it won't be exactly the same, but it needs to be good, and it needs to be focused, and it needs to be there for them, and they need to be the focus of what we're doing. And we want to introduce them to Jesus. We want to bring them to Jesus. And even with the people that are regularly coming to our congregation, we can't just automatically think that they will come back. Some of them have had all kinds of options and been able to look at things, and watch other people online and maybe get some idea that they might want to go somewhere else. And you have to be ready to face that and to captivate them once again and to bring them back in. And we do that in several ways. And so I would say that what we need to focus on is a catchment zone. Is 20 kilometers around your church, is that a reasonable catchment zone? And you can get the statistics through your Facebook online stuff to where you kind of have an idea where people are at and where they're from. Are they from your area? Are they not? If they are, then we need to be looking at reaching out to them in a very specific way. And then it'll branch out. You get to a place beyond that 20-kilometer core, and you're looking at something different again. You're looking at the possibility of having a group in that area that you can bring together and possibly turn into a church plant at some point in time. And then there's that place where you get to where they're just way out beyond what you're ever going to be able to do. And so what you have to focus on at that point in time is to realize that you can just turn them into an online audience, and you just keep reaching out to them through your media systems. And possibly you can turn them into someone that could be help you with your resource base in projects. They're not going to be in every week giving probably, but you can help them to come and be a part of something through an online audience. And so with each of these groups, there's just truths that are fundamental to what it's going to take. And so I want to point to some of those things today. And so what you do about your online audience and depends on what you plan to do with the things that you're doing when you resume. And if you don't know now, you need to be planning as to what you're going to do when things resume. Are you just trying to get by until things change? Or are you planning on seizing this opportunity? This is the question that you have to answer. And is your online audience just a stopgap in the meantime to when things change? So if you want to capture your online audience though, then there's certain things that you're going to have to focus on. And I just want to point to a few things here. Quickly, the first one is connection. You have to make a connection. Who are you to the online audience, and who are they to you? Have you made a connection with them? Have you drawn something from them, and have you given something to them? Who are they? What kind of relationship is this? Do you know your online audience, and what is your connection to them, and what is it going to be going down the road? These are things that you have to think about. Getting an actual contact information in an online situation is a little bit different, and it's a little bit difficult, but trying to get that contact information is so important so that you can make a connection with those people. And it's been a focus for us as to how do we get them to connect. And so we've done it through online hosts. We've done it through things on our website where we provide an online connection card. We've just done different things, and we're trying to get that. We watch the statistics on a weekly basis to see who is watching us, where are they from, and can we actually reach out to them. You may have to get creative in incentives, but keep that connection open. Keep that connection open. You don't want to buy their attendance, but you want to captivate them. You want to bring them in. You want to let them know that you care about them. You know, if they're your regulars that are watching you online right now, you have to maintain contact with them. So we need to expand that and reach that out to another level as well, to expand it. But don't take your relationship with your regulars for granted. There may be some of them that have found something they like better. And so you have to be prepared to that and deal with that emotionally. And so staying connected with them is incredibly important so you can keep them in the game. And we have tried to keep as many of our people in the game as possible through our worship and through our online productions. We've tried to keep as many people. We've done different things in trying to connect with tailgate coffee parties. We've had different people meeting. We've had connection groups, online connection groups, where we are trying to stay in contact with everybody through that. So making a connection and keeping that connection are not the same thing. Once you've made that connection, you need to be able to hang on to that connection, to that online person, so that you can draw them in. If they're in your catchment zone, or if they're in the zones beyond that, stay in contact with them. Get ready to plant a church if you can in that area, and do something with that audience. Because they will drift away just like any other time when things change and resume, and you can have your in-house service once again. Don't let the opportunity slip by. The second thing I want to point out is communication. What you communicate is not just important, it's crucial. And what you say and what you do and your body language, it's all incredibly important. And what you communicate is important to these people. So they're only going to know about you by what you say and do online. And so you have to captivate them and draw them into where you're at. So everything that you say and do will tell them something about you. Your body language will tell them something about you. The way you speak, if you're prone to using humor, it will tell them something about you. But things like humor can be misread, especially in an online environment. Things like political comments can be misread in an online audience. And so you want to stay away from some of those things. And if you stay away from them online, then you might have to stay away from them when services resume. And if there is a new normal, which I'm banning that saying, then that might be it. You might have to change how you communicate a little bit. So what you say and how you say it is just exponentially visible online. The camera is closer to you. People can only see a certain amount. They can't see the whole context of what's going on around you. They can't see your room. They can't see any of that. Your body language changes things, and it can be easily misinterpreted. So be careful what you're doing online so that you can communicate properly what you want to say to those people. The third thing is you need to be thinking about community. You know, no one moves to a community unless it benefits them. When you move somewhere, it's for a better job or a better house or something, a better school for your children, possibly a business opportunity of some kind. And so when you move, you're moving to a community for a specific reason. And it's important that you give your online audience a community to move to, but it has to have a value-added component to it. Why should they come and be a part of your community? What draws them in, and what are you doing to do that? And so adding value to what you're doing is incredibly important at this time. You want to make sure that when they come in, that this place that they have decided to watch online for several months, and they are now going to try, actually has a benefit to them spiritually and emotionally, and you can draw them into a community and they can become part of your church. And so being a positive addition to that, you need to produce things so that it is a positive addition in their lives, that it is something that they can grab onto and they can benefit from. You see, our in-house community needs to be that positive addition to their life. So when they move in and they plug in with you, that it gives them something inside that they didn't have before. Otherwise, they're just going to look elsewhere. And you do this by serving people. And if you're not prepared to serve them, then they're probably not prepared to come in. Mark 10:45 says this, For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. So your church needs to be a place where you serve people and where you place a great deal of emphasis on relationships. You know, one of our victory tenets is how much we value relationships over programs. And so we need to be focusing on that drawing people into our community means that we want to be relational. We want to make that relationship a focus of what we are doing with them and how we're helping them. And so if you want your online audience to come into your church, you have to show them that you're relational. You have to communicate that to them, not just online, but when they finally do decide to come to your door, you need to be there to greet them. You need to offer them something that nobody else is offering them. The second thing, your church needs to be a positive, healthy environment. You know, I think I've heard people leaving churches over the years because they didn't feel like it was a safe place. I'm not 100% certain what they mean by that statement, but I do understand a healthy place. And our churches need to be healthy places. They need to be places where people are ministered to, where people are plugged in, where people love on one another, where we are not just trying to focus on specks in other people's eyes while we got planks in our own, where we're focusing on the value of that person to us and to our congregation. Your church needs to have ongoing support networks if you want to put people into a community. You can't just say we are a community and then not have any community mindedness. You have to have a community mindedness. If you started care groups or connect groups or small groups of some kind online, then you need to continue those groups, not just in-house, but online as well, because you're going to have an online audience that can't come to the church. But if you want some to come to the church, then they have to be able to know that they can come in and plug into a community, that this wasn't just an online thing, it wasn't just a group that you were putting out there, that it really exists, that your attitude toward them really exists. And your church needs to be a storehouse of opportunity for people so that they can come and they can plug in and they can belong to that community, that it is not just a place where they can come on Sunday and give their tithe or their offering, but it's actually a place where they can plug in and that they can become a part of everything that you're doing, that they can actually own this thing. It can be theirs. They will plug into it and they will be able to be a part of it. And most people I'm finding want to belong to something. They don't want to be just a part of any old thing. They want to belong to something that gives value to their life. They want to belong to something that touches them in a way that they can feel like they have ownership, that they're part of something. And providing them with opportunities is a way of helping them to come in and plug in to what you're doing in your community. And so it's important that you have those things there. And so this goes for your regulars who have been away as well. They need a way of plugging in once again, because let's face it, there's people that have pulled back because of the COVID crisis, that have stepped away from the things that they were doing, whether that was ushering or greeting at your doors, being part of your host team. Even members of your worship team have stepped back because of this thing. And you need to be able to draw them back into that community and give them that thing of value. So you need to connect with them and you need to draw them into that community. You need to communicate with them, and you have to be there for them when they want to come back through those doors, and you have to encourage them. And there's a lot of mechanics that could be involved in this, but I didn't want my message today to be a message of just mechanics. We can run a Zoom meeting later on if we want to do that and have a workshop on this very thing. What I want to do today is inspire you that you have an opportunity before you, a great opportunity before you. And the amount of people that we are reaching in this season is incredible, but we need to be able to do something more than just send a message into outer space. We need to be able to bring that message home into our churches and draw people into them so that they can be a part of a vibrant, growing thing. And I believe that through this situation and this crisis, if you want to call it that, is that we can grow and we can expand. And I pray that today your church is actually going to grow and develop and go beyond where it was before, not just struggle to get people back, but be an exciting place and where people are motivated. And evangelism is going to be incredibly important in that component, and you need to be focused on that. And so some people will stay engaged on your online and some won't. Some will come into your building and some won't. But you got to be ready to minister to both of those groups. Those ones that just want to stay online and those ones that want to come through your doors. So it's not an either or situation. It's probably going to be an and situation if you want to seize this opportunity and increase the amount of people that you actually have coming in your seats. So I want to thank you today for this opportunity to share. Like the rest of you, we have had an experience here over the last couple of months, and maybe for the months to come, we will still be dealing with some of this stuff, and we'll be learning each and every day. But I want to encourage you today that it's not over for you. In fact, it could just be beginning. My takeaway today, what is unprecedented right now is the opportunity that's before us. Will we scrap it or seize it? God bless you, and we'll see you in the next phase of our conferences here, and hopefully in your own churches when things resume. God bless you now.